Yes, boss. See the topic and what it is that we're talking about, right? Children pay for the sins of their parents. If you never heard of that before, I'm glad I could break that down for you, right? So here's the deal. It's even proven and it's in the Bible, right? So I'm going to run it for you. Before I even give you the Bible verse. When I say children pay for the sins of their parents, that's not what God said. What I'm saying is, in life, the mistakes or the choices that your parents made, you can suffer from those choices. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you a Bible verse that explains that no, whatever your parents did, God doesn't charge you for it. But what I'm saying is you can fall into those patterns that was set by your parents and that can crumble you. You get what I'm saying? So Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 19 to 20, right? Yet you say, why should not the son suffer for the iniquity of the father? Whether the son has done what is just and right and has been careful to observe all my statutes, he shall surely live. The soul who sins shall die. The son shall not suffer for the iniquity of the father, nor the father suffer for the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon himself, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon himself. So here's the deal. Basically, that means, whatever it is that your dad did in his life or your mom did, that's them and their choices. It's just like saying, I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you're at work, right? And your coworker commits something that does something that they're not supposed to do, right? And your boss gets pissed off and charges everybody for it. That's not what the Bible is saying. You get what I'm saying? The Bible's basically saying, the person who is out here doing all the wrongs and whatever the case may be, they're going to be held responsible. The child, we're not holding you responsible, especially if you're taking the teachings or whatever it is that you learn what's right, you go down the right path, you're not going to be charged for the mistakes of your father. You get what I'm saying? Reason why I even made this a topic, and I'm going to tell it to you, because yes, the mistakes your parents did make in life, you can inhabit those. You get what I'm saying? You can be lingering around that and pick up those bad habits. So example into that, right? Let's say your parents used to rob and steal or harm people or kill or whatever the case may be. Yes, that's your parents. It's wrong to judge somebody and say, that person's going to grow up to be just like his father. He's going to grow up to be just like his mother. No, sometimes the apple does fall far from the tree. You get what I'm saying? And meaning that just because your parents were one set way doesn't mean that you're going to grow up to be the exact same thing like your parents. Yes, certain teachings and certain dealings, certain things will be instilled in you from young based on whatever it was that you were taught. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever your parents did out here in the world, you're going to suffer from that. What I do mean by that, children pay for the sins of their parents. Let's say on another note, right? Back into what I was saying with examples. Let's say your father used to rob or harm people or whatever the case may be. If he isn't careful, one of those people that he robbed can turn around and come back for that dad or anybody close to them. That's what I mean by children can pay for the sins of their parents. The things that your parents could have done, some people have to look over their shoulder for the rest of their life. Some people have to pick up and move elsewhere. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you played a lot of games with people, if you've harmed people, you don't know what tomorrow holds. I say that all the time. You don't know what's around the corner. The same people who you burn bridges with could have been the same people who helped you later on down the line. And the same people who you end up harming could be the same people who could end up coming back to avenge what happened to them. You get what I'm saying? This is just how life goes. So you have to be careful of the things that you do in life, especially if you have kids, because you have to understand that the world that we live in, a lot of people lack remorse, lack care, lack proper discernment, lack the ability of thinking about the next human being. Some people aren't really conscious like that. There's some people who go a little bit far in life to get the things it is that they want, and they end up doing more damage than what it is that they intended to. So those same things that they've done in their younger years can come back to harm them later on in life. That's why you have some people who cannot sleep properly. You have some people who have to constantly be on the lookout, or they're constantly paranoid. Why? because of the things that they've done in their younger years. And as well as that, if you have parents who glorify or uphold a certain standard of life, and it may not be something that's fitting to you, that's something that you can suffer for as well. Give you an example. Let's say your father was or your mother was in the streets or whatever, and you coming up now, you live in like the suburbs, or you live in a good area, you don't know what it's like to taste the hood or whatever the case may be. You carrying on with certain behaviors and certain doings that you're not ready for or you're not built for, that's something that can in terms end up harming you. Because why? That's not something that's fitting for you. You have to understand this as well, right? And this is very common, so I'm going to break this down and tell you how this blends out into this, right? There are some people back in their younger years, they used to be wild, outlandish, straight rebels, right? Now, they decided to either turn it around, let me move away from my old lifestyle, let me get away from what it was that I grew up on, because why? Now I have what? I have kids. Now, your kids end up learning, yo, this is what my dad did, or this is what my dad used to be. Your kids can end up falling in love with the things that you used to do because they seen where it's gotten you. But their lack of experience in the world, they don't know that, yo, that was your father. You're you. You get what I'm saying? I'll give you an example into that because I did a video about it. Look at Jay Prince Sr. and look at Junior. You have Senior, yo, you were a gangster. You sold drugs. You did a lot of wild stuff in your younger years. From the things that he did, listen to what I'm telling you. His son picked up that same behavior and thinks, yo, I'm a gangster too. No, you're not. You were raised in a rich neighborhood. You were never one of these people out here like your father. You're just riding off of the name and the image that your father left behind. There's a lot of people who do that. Well, my father used to be a drug dealer back in the days, so it's just only right. It's in my blood. I have to go. You don't have to do none of that shit. That's bullshit. Because of whatever it is that your parents did, that's your parents. That was their times. You have your choices that you can make in life. You have your own path to follow in life. You get what I'm saying? It's not saying that you won't end up in a good situation, but you have to understand, in life, there are some people who glorify the wrong things and they exalt the wrong things. They emulate the wrong things. And if you don't know this, kids grow up emulating what they see. So if your father used to abuse your mother, I'm not saying you're going to turn around and do that. But the likelihood of you growing into that is that much higher because why? You grew up seeing it. It's just like a person who never had a father. You don't know what that feeling is like. So it's something that's far-fetching to you. You get what I'm saying? It's a tale of two halves. So when I say that children pay for the sins of their parents, it mainly depends on what it is that they're taught, what their parents glorify, what their parents allow them to see, what their parents involve themselves in, the music that they play, what they get into. These are things that can rub off on your children. And this is something that some people fail to realize. Some people are oblivious to. I've even had a conversation with somebody that said, no, kids don't pay for the sins of their parents. Through the Bible, they don't. But what I'm saying is if they grow up understanding and seeing the things that you did and it wasn't right and they take up practicing that, you're going to screw them. Because why? Times are changing. The world is changing. Generation is changing. The things that people used to do back in the days, you can't really do that stuff nowadays. Because why? There's consequences to it. Give you an example. Back in the days, you've seen how times elevated. Some kids used to get their ass beat by their parents. Nowadays, there's some kids who don't even know what it's like to get an ass whipping or an assing. Because why? The times that we're living in, if you get caught beating your child, you could go to jail. Or I know my power, mommy. If you ever try to hit me with that belt, I'm reporting you to the police. You have to understand that times are changed now. There are some kids who've got that much ballsy that they're like, yo, I don't care. You're not touching me with a belt. And if you touch me, I'm getting the police involved. That's how times have changed nowadays. As well as that, back into what I'm saying, when you live a certain lifestyle, I say this all the time. It doesn't matter if you were good or bad or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's depending on the environment that you're in that impacts your children All I'm trying to tell you is, if you glorify badness, if you preach that shit, do not be surprised if your children grow up doing the same shit that you did. Especially if you're somebody who likes to finesse, use people, trick people. Don't be surprised when your kids learn these type of things. Example, let's say your parents steal, and then next thing you know, you get caught stealing, and somebody asks you, yo, where did you learn this? You're going to have to tell the truth at that point. Or I learned that from my mommy, or I learned that from my daddy. That's when shame can follow you back home as a parent, because of the things that you taught your kids, the things that you might have shown them. You have to understand, you have to be careful with kids, because kids are very tender-minded. Things that they see, they'll grow up and they'll emulate it. Things it is that they pick up and learn, if they feel like it's something that can be a benefit of them, that they can learn from it and it can excel them in life, they're going to do it, whether good or bad. This depends on how they were grounded. You get what I'm saying? With that being said, remember this. Words can help you, they can hurt you, but here on my channel is going to uplift you, because everybody's a champion, nobody's a loser. Just remember this. Nobody in this world is perfect. We all make mistakes. Nobody grew up in a perfect household, especially if you're in the black community. We're raised in a broken household, majority of us. So you have to understand this. The things that you show to your kids, that's chances are what they'll emulate and what they'll pick up. Be a parent that also teaches your kids things that you never knew. Don't be on some, oh, I'm going to give you things I never had. Teach your kids things that they never knew, that you never knew when you were younger, so that when they get older, they can excel at a faster pace than what you did. So that also changes the generation, changes the dynamics, so you can have a better outcome for a better future. You get what I'm saying? It's your boy 444 The World, man. Peace.